When you imagine the architectural wonders of the world, what do you see? The greatness of the Pyramid of Giza, or maybe the amazing aqueducts of ancient Rome. Both are amazing feats of human innovation. As a researcher, I have often wondered why we monumentalize the ancient wonders of civilizations that collapsed such a long time ago. I have traveled many cities studying ancient innovation, and what I have found are indigenous technologies from living cultures that are still in use. And some of these cultures you may have never heard of. They live in the most remote place on the earth, facing environmental extremes like desert, drought, and frequent flooding of generations. A couple of years ago, I traveled to northern areas to place overlooking the plains of Pakistan, where the Khasi people live in a forest that receives more rainfall than anywhere else on the earth. And during the monsoon season, their travel between villages is cut off by these floods. We transformed this entire landscape from a forested canopy into isolated islands. This hill tribe has evolved living root bridges that are created by guiding and growing trees roots that you can barely wrap your arms around through a carefully woven scaffolding. Multiple generations of the Khasi men and the women and the children they'll take care of the roots as they grow to the other side of the bank where they are planted to make a structure that will get stronger with age. This 1500-year-old tradition of growing living root bridges has produced 75 of these incredible structures, and while they took 50 years to grow in this landscape, they actually last for centuries. All across the globe, I have seen cultures who have been living with floods for thousands of years by evolving these ancient technologies that allows them to work with the water. In the southern wetlands of Iraq, which are formed by confluence of the Tigers and the European rivers, are unique water-based civilization lives. For 6,000, the Medan have floating villages on man-made islands that are constructed from a single species of need that grows around them. And the Kusab need is integral to every aspect of life. It is food, water, buffalo, floor for humans, and building material. For these biodegradable islands and their cathedral-like houses that they construct in a little as 3 days, and this dried cassava reed. It can be bundled into columns, it can be woven into floors or roofs or walls, and it can be twisted into a rope that is used to bind these buildings without the use of any nails. The Medan villages are constructed in the marsh as they have been for generations. On island they stay afloat for over 25 years. Although global attention is focused on the pandemic, cities are still sinking and sea levels are still rising, and high-tech solutions are definitely going to help us. They help us to solve some of these problems, but in our rush toward the future, we tend to forget about the past. In other parts of the world where rivers are contaminated with sewage, a city of 15 million people cleans its water with its floodplains. On the edges of Kolkata, flanked by a smoking escarpment of city's trash and ribboned by its highways, an indigenous technology of 300 fish ponds cleans its water like producing its food and through a combination of sunshine and sewage and a symbiosis between algae and bacteria. The wastewater is broken down, fish ponds continue this cleaning of the water in a process that takes around 30 days. And the innovation is not just a model for chemical and coal power free purification, since Kolkata's core has no formal treatment. It's the city only way of cleaning the water downstream before it enters the Bay of Bengal. What I find so unbelievable about the infrastructure is that as cities across the world in Asia and in Europe begin to replicate this exact system, Kolkata is now struggling to save it from being displaced by development and then to deal with flooding in a completely other way. The tribe has developed the largest lake city in Africa. Ganvier, meaning we survived, is built of seated houses that are organized around a canal system that you can navigate by dot con, and the royal square stands amongst 3,000 sited buildings that include a post office, a bank, a mosque, and even a couple of bars that are surrounded by 12,000 individual fish paddocks. The chemical-free artificial reef covers almost half of the lagoon and feeds 1 million people. They are living around it. What amazes me is that while an individual area is pretty insignificant, where it's multiplied by 12,000, it creates an indigenous technology that scale of industrial agriculture, which is the greatest threat to our mangrove ecosystems. But the technology, it builds more biodiversity than before. Just earlier this year, when I was back home, the craziest thing happened. The burnt ash from the bushfire surrounding Siberia rained down on us on Bondi Beach and worried about carbon emissions, not wire transmissions. We were already wearing masks. The air was so choked by a clump of smoke that was a big, then it reached as far as New Zealand. Then is the midst of the wildfires, which were the worst we had ever seen on record. Something unexpected happened, but incredibly amazing. The ancestral lands in Australia where dangerous fire stick farming was practiced were saved as these fires raged around them. And these ancient forests, the survival because of sensational generational burning, which is an aboriginal practice of listening small, slow and cool fires. So, though wildfires are national disaster as a consequence of climate change, they are also man-made, and what's so amazing about this is we have the ancient technology that we can help to prevent them, and we have used it for thousands of years. And what I find so fascinating about these technologies is how complex they are and how returned they are to nature, and then how resilient we could become by learning from them. Too often, when we are faced with a crisis, we build walls in defense. I'm a researcher and I've been trained to seek solutions to parents, steel glass. These are used to build a fortress against nature. But my search for ancient systems and dangerous technology has been different. It's been inspired by an idea that we can seed creativity in crisis. We have thousands of years of ancient knowledge that are just need to listen to and allow it to expand our thinking about designing symbiotically with nature. And by listening, we will only become wiser and ready for those 21st century challenges that we will endanger our people, our planet. And I have seen it. I know that it's possible.